brother, son, friend, community organizer, activist these days, engaged. I was supposed to get married last November, but that got postponed because of COVID. Hopefully we're going to get married in 2022, but most importantly, a person in long-term recovery since February 2nd, 2015. Insane to say that, so coming up on my 7 years now. And Big Shin is like, I didn't go through Big Shin, I didn't come here for treatment or support with Big Shin. I was fortunate to get an introduction to in my first year of recovery. And it has become a very special place for me in my work, but not just in my work, in my life. John and Carol are family to me, and Sean is to our family back in Las Vegas, Nevada. Honestly, and all the staff here, I couldn't do what I do in my personal life, but also in my advocacy and my work without the Big Shin family. So thank you all for your work. Thank you for showing up here tonight to support this very important cause. This time of year for me is particularly special, and I go through a lot of reflection for the time from the day after Halloween right up until Christmas time. It was 2014. I was, believe it or not, homeless, helpless, on the streets of Los Angeles. I had a corner on Hollywood and Vine, where I was panhandling. I was panhandling for change so I could get food in my belly, and I was panhandling so I could continue using IV heroin. When I was ready for help, which was the night before Thanksgiving 2014, and I asked for help, I was told there was no place for me. I didn't have any money. I didn't have insurance. My mom, could she have helped me? Would have, but by this time, she couldn't. She had mortgaged her apartment, essentially, to get me into treatment time and time again over the course of 10 years, and there was just no resources for me. And when I called the helpline in Los Angeles County, they said, hey, don't give up. Call this phone number every morning, 8 a.m., and we'll see if there's a bed for you. And for 26 days, I walked to that payphone, and I made a call at 8 a.m. in the morning until they said, yes, we have a bed. It took 26 days for me to be able to get help. And I think back now how lucky I was, those 26 days that I didn't die. My mom and I were talking. I saw my mom for the first time last week for Thanksgiving, and I haven't seen her in 2 years because of the pandemic. And we were talking about that, especially given what's going on with the drug supply, fentanyl, and everything else that's killing those we love and care about in our communities. I'm sharing that story because it's notable for something that happened today to me. I have a friend of mine who I went to treatment with in 2014 when I finally got clean, and he was a roommate of mine, and he didn't sustain his recovery. In and out for the last 7 years, and has been really struggling, particularly in the last year. And I haven't talked to him in 2 years. And he reached out to me today, out of nowhere. And he said, I need help. And I was like, God, Art, this is great, man. Like, you want to get help? Where are you? What's going on? Do you have insurance? Do you have Medicaid? What's the deal? And I pushed everything aside, right, that I was working on. And there was a lot going on. And I said, I want to help Art. Nothing would mean more to me than for Art to get this gift that so many of us have been able to hold on to. And he's reaching out his hand to me. And so Art and I go through that process together. together. You know, he's got Medicaid. I'm calling everybody I know in Southern California. You have a bed, you've got Medicaid, you got scholarships, it's ready to go. It's ready to go right now. And I know Art, if he doesn't get in, like right now, if he doesn't get an answer right now, like he is back out, he might be using it. And he's using fentanyl. Like, and he knows he's using fentanyl. Like he knows what's going on. And call after call, no. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we're gonna get him on a list. Tell him to call. I'm like, great, so now we've gone from 26 days to 6 weeks, right? Things aren't getting better. Things are getting worse, at least where I was from. Back in Cali. And I took a deep breath. About, 12 noon today, I picked up the phone and I called here. I said, hey, I have this friend of mine who needs help. He doesn't have any money. He's got Medicaid. He lives across the country. Can you get him in? I'll help him get him out here somehow. Is there any way he can get into Michigan and you all can help show him the way? And the answer was yes. And it was that simple. So I can't express to you how special this is, what happens right here. Right? Like this specific recovery community organization, the people who are a part of this community, the people who work here, the family members who are involved, the funders. This is unique and it's special and we don't have it in every community and we should have it in every community. If I could just spend the rest of my life going to like every city and state and just taking like McShin and copying it, just embedding it everywhere, I would, but I can't. And that's one of the reasons that we fight so hard. That's one of the reasons that I do the work that I do. That's one of the reasons, that's what fuels my passion and my purpose. So thank you for that. You know, I'm not going to spend too much on Unsettled, but what I'll tell you is that, you know, in short, you know, many of you have had the pleasure of getting to talk to since my first book, American Fix, was published. McShin was one of the first places to have me when American Fix came out. It was actually shortly after I met John and Carol, and right after that trip that, thank the Lord, John Schindelser showed up because Garrett and I had no gas to get back to California. It was shortly after that trip that I decided to write that first book. Unsettled is a different book because a lot's happened in the last 6 years, you know, since I started getting involved in advocacy. Many of you may know, for those of you that don't, one of the first targets that I had in advocacy and activism was Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family. I did not know who the Sackler family was when I was on that street corner in Hollywood and Vine, right? I knew what Purdue Pharma was because I remember the name on the side of the bottles that I was getting back in Florida when my addiction kicked off, but I didn't know who the Sackler family was. I learned very quickly who they were. We had protests, we had rallies, we took actions, we wrote about them, we talked to Congress about them. Over the course of several years, the Voices Project, the nonprofit that I helped found, took on Purdue as one of its organizational targets, and we got a lot of backlash as a result of it. I talked about them in my first book, American Fix. And when Purdue decided that they were going to file for bankruptcy because of the 2,600 lawsuits they were facing, I went to the DOJ and I asked for a seat on this committee as a representative of Purdue's victims that would kind of serve as like a mega plaintiff in the bankruptcy case. And much to my surprise, I was appointed to that committee, and I was appointed chairman of that committee. Now, when I walked into the bankruptcy, I thought, hey, this is great. There's an opportunity here where justice is going to be done for victims. We're going to get money to the ground. The forefront of my mind was we're going to get money, into these communities so we can build these, recovery community organizations. We can finally bring that dream to fruition of having a McShin in every community. We're going to hold the Sacklers accountable. Purdue's going to, it's going to burn to the ground, and justice will be done. And I, at that time, was already working on my second book. It was not Unsettled, just to tell you. About 6 months into the process of the bankruptcy, I realized that the story was way bigger than Purdue, and the story was way bigger than the Sacklers. That essentially the entire system was built for the outcome that we're experiencing right now with the Sackler family, the owners, or the founders of Purdue Pharma, and the injustice that our community continues to receive day in and day out. You'll have to read the book to learn more, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. What I will tell you is it is a different book. I have not lost my passion and my fire in my belly for the work that we do and for what I know is right. I do believe that justice for this community is still a very real thing, but the fight ahead of us is, it's long. As many of you know, like the money's just not there for us to build these types of organizations. We have to make sure these settlement dollars get to where they're supposed to be in places like McShin. We have to hold these companies accountable for the wreckage that they've brought onto our communities. And we have to support people in recovery and people who are